So, global rating agency Moody's Investors Service has raised India's 2024 growth forecast to 6.8% versus the earlier 6.1%. Now, they've cited stronger than expected economic data in 2023 for this. They've also said, look, capital spending, strong manufacturing have contributed to the robust growth. Now, going forward, they feel that, look, fading global economic headwinds will mean India is likely to be the fastest growing among G20 economies at large. They also expect policy continuity after general elections, and they expect the fact that, look, the continued focus on infrastructure development will remain going forward. So these are the expectations that they have. To decode this further and share their views on the highlights shared by Moody's, we have senior economist Mitali Nekor joining us. Thank you so much for your time and for this interaction. I'd like to begin by asking you, look, interestingly, Moody's Investors Service report cites the fact that, look, policy continuity will remain after general elections, and the fact that the focus on infrastructure development will remain. Your thoughts?
Yeah. Hi, Sakshi. Thanks a lot for this quick interview, and very excited to always speak with you. I completely agree, Sakshi. I think the reading that the Moody's analysts have put in place for the continuity of the investments in infrastructure is absolutely spot on, because India is currently on a long-term infrastructure investment path, and frankly, this path is not linked to any particular party. Even after the election, we are definitely going to see whether the current government comes back or whether we see a new government. It has been observed and appreciated that investments in infrastructure are yielding the maximum return for the growth at this point in time. So, the programs like PM Gati Shakti, programs like the, entire energy transition paths that India has committed to at COP28, these are enduring and long-term investments which will definitely continue.
Right. To those sitting at home and saying that, look, infrastructure push is happening, that will drive the momentum, as you said. But what about other sectors that need to be looked at so that this growth momentum can be even higher?
Absolutely, Sakshi. I think some of the other sectors that we need to start thinking about more are actually three. I would say we need to start investing more in education. Because that is one sector where we've seen a lot of push on school buildings. Has happened. Access to education has improved a lot, but now we need to start looking at soft interventions in terms of improving learning outcomes. The second section to look at is healthcare. We need to start again thinking beyond hospital buildings towards the quality of our doctors, towards the quality of our nursing staff, to deepening the skill training in the health sector. And the third sector that we really need to look at is gender. And when we look at gender, it's not only about women's labor force participation, but it's also about investing in care infrastructure and care services so that women's time is freed up to participate in the labor force.
Right. Now, we have seen retail inflation ease, but food inflation remains sticky and those concerns remain. So, to those sitting at home and saying, look, how will this impact my purchasing power going forward? Of course, there is an uptick and there are upbeat projections. That's great. But those concerned about the fact that, look, food inflation remains sticky going forward, I, as a consumer, or the viewer saying that, look, I, as a viewer, want a higher purchasing power, want the agri and the farm sector focus in place. Your thoughts on
Yeah.
that?
So I think, Sakshi, I would really appreciate how this government has been focusing on the agri and farm sector, especially looking at two areas. One is crop diversification. We've seen the maximum amount of discussion on crop diversification, the entire discussion on having MSP for a greater number of crops, especially millets, pulses, which are extremely important not only for food security, but also for, our entire farm sector. And the second area in the farm sector, which has received a lot of investments, is agri logistics. The amount of investment that has gone into warehousing, storage, and all of these sort of allied services in the agri logistics sector has helped to already reduce the farm to table cost of food. The inflation that we are seeing currently is also a result of some external factors, because when you have a high dependence on imports for oil seeds, for example, which are a big part of our consumption basket, that starts to overall impact your food inflation. So there is a need definitely, and this time in the budget it was also announced to have an Atmanirbhar policy on oil seeds, and that is already starting to now take place. So I think that in the agri and agri logistics sector, these investments will help to overall bring down the food inflation.
Right. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and to help us decode such projections. Of course, going forward, India likely to be the fastest growing economy among the G20 economies, as Moody's has predicted. But this, of course, is important for our viewers and our consumers sitting at home to understand the projections and how going forward this growth momentum can be looked at and can be even jumped further if these areas are looked into. So, thank you so much for helping us understand that.